Howdy, howdy ho. Yeah, the name of this controller is a mouthful, so instead of calling it the GuliKit KingKong Pro 2 controller, I'm just going to refer to it as the Kong 2 Pro. Why are so many people so bad at naming things? Yeah, it's an Xbox Series controller shell, but with just enough differences to avoid a lawsuit, and immediately therein lies an important thing. If you're like me and you like the feel of an Xbox controller, then you're golden. But if you don't, then here's something a little fun for you. The function buttons are not actually centered on the controller like they are on every other controller on the planet. So if you have symmetry OCD, which many Animal Crossing players do, then that just adds to the hurt. Speaking of non-symmetry, the gaps for the bumpers and triggers are all over the place. Not exactly the best build quality. Not only that, but it's surprisingly light. Too light, like you know the materials used are a bit cheap. The texture though is an interesting spot. It's nice and smooth and silky, which is great if you like the feel, not so great if you like grip. Unless you have constantly sweaty hands, which is gross, the controller will feel so slick that it slides around in your hands a bit. The analog sticks use steel rings around the columns, but unfortunately have problematically poor design quality. Where they meet the anti-friction ring cutouts is not flush. Thus, you end up getting a hard line where the corner of the anti-friction ring touches the column. I used a little general household oil in an attempt to reduce long-term wear. So in terms of just looking at the hardware, we have a lower quality Xbox controller. This includes a texture that feels nice but does not actually provide better grip. This is the reason more expensive Pro controllers use actual rubber grips. There's a bit of redemption here for the Kong 2 Pro. I've used this controller on my PC, Switch, and Steam Deck. Yep, this one controller is capable of serving 3 out of my 5 gaming devices. That's because it boasts a surprising amount of function and customization. The selector has 4 selections, but these boil down to Switch, PC, and mobile. It gives this controller serious multi-device functionality. That is, if you can reprogram your brain, because the buttons are laid out for a Switch. It also has a lot of customizable things, but there's really only one that matters, and I cannot emphasize enough to set this immediately. No dead zone mode. There seems to be some effort to avoid drift by increasing the size of the dead zone, but by setting this mode, the sticks feel properly responsive. More on that later. Barring the time it would take to go through all the options, just know that you've got turbo mode, hair trigger mode, and even adjustable vibration. Nice. No complaints here. This is likely the part you care about the most, and while a person's sensitivity to controller precision can vary, and by the type of games they play, know that I put the Kong 2 Pro through its paces. You're most likely also interested in the Hall Effect analog sticks, and in my 150 plus hours at using this controller across my PC, Switch, and Steam Deck, there is thus far no drift. However, my left stick has developed a sort of tick when pushing it downward. It's near impossible to record because it's more of a feel than a sound. The sticks themselves, despite the marketing, seem to lack a bit of precision due to their steeper sensitivity curve. An easy comparison to make is Genshin. You can see while gliding that using my Xbox One controller, there's more granularity in the turning. The Kong Pro 2, however, seems to have less. This comparison also translates in Destiny 2, where I find my aim jumps too quickly as the stick sensitivity mapping ramps up too hard towards the edge. And lastly, the triggers have a shorter throw, which makes them less precise in racing games, and the button push is a little bit on the mushy side. When compared directly to its muse, the Xbox controller has a more tactile click to its buttons, while the Kong 2 Pro feels more blunt. Overall, the performance is serviceable, but not quite on the level of a first-party controller. Is this a good Steam Deck and Switch controller? The answer is yes, but just barely. Its excellent customization features and multi-device functionality give it an edge over pretty much any other controller on the market. Where it lacks is its attempt to remain competitively priced. Its hardware quality and performance just do not outdo first-party controllers. The truth is that my Xbox One controller is superior, and my Switch Pro controller is also superior. The Kong 2 Pro just lets me jump between my devices conveniently and also lets me customize it to suit various games. Basically, you buy this for multiple devices, not because it actually beats any of the other first-party controllers. I'll see you next time on the Gaming 5.